All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Wednesday, February 7th. We got ourselves a 7-game NBA slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other leans or plays, like player props that we like within the games. But as always, all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If you do want to fade my picks, those plays are going to be in the pinned comment. Last night, we paid a couple sportsbook salaries, I think. We go 2 and 5. Now, even the 2 wins were a split unit, so it's pretty much 1 win. We did have the split unit of Simone Fontecchio, so realistically, it's a 1 and 4 night, which is just as bad. But those nights are going to happen. I'm not here to make excuses about it. The only one I'm kind of butthurt about is the Timberwolves minus 4.5. They're up by like 20 in the third quarter, and they lose the game in overtime. So yeah, that stinks, but not our best night, so hopefully we can pull things together and do well tonight. Shout out to Tassos. Tassos does the player prop videos on the channel, and he hit a plus 400 and beyond parlay last night, so if you guys followed those picks, there you go. Tassos hooked you up. The fun does not stop there, and that's sarcasm because our ride of the day also does not come through, so me and Center both share this womp womp. A bad night from the ride of the day, a bad night from the picks that I liked yesterday. We had Centerpiece coming in with Durant over 2.5 threes. He's ready to break the record. Put me in, coach. I'm the coach. I put you in. He airballed, unfortunately, so maybe we'll get Center back in at some point, but Durant finishes with 1 3, I believe. So if you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, all you got to use is that hashtag ride of the day in the comments. Give me some locks of picks. We need it right now. We're going to be jumping on board with one person's pick, and you guys get a shout out here in the next video, win or loss. You also get a shout out on my Twitter at EvGuyBoston. And if you win, we continue to ride with you, and you continue to get shouted out in these videos. So make sure to drop those hashtag ride of the days in the comments. And guys, one like ride of the day PSA. I know we get so many ride of the day comments, and I see a lot of comments being like, man, this dude never picks me. Screw him. And it's like, I understand you have great picks, and I understand if I don't pick you and you win, you want to say, hey, you should have picked mine. We get hundreds and hundreds of ride of the day comments a day. It's tough to just pick one, so I do apologize for anyone that feels like they're being neglected or ignored. It's not that, it's just that we have to, out of all of these picks, pick one. So keep trying, I would say. You know, we want to get people in, and we want to give everyone a chance, but as impossible as that may seem, we're going to try. So nonetheless, that's my ride of the day rant there. Before we get into the picks, I do want to talk to you guys about Sleeper. Sleeper has a free square going on for new users for tonight. Tyrese Maxey, no Joel Embiid. They're going to lean on him to score, but he only needs to score 1 bucket. Actually, just 1 point here to cash this over. So if you guys are not over on Sleeper, make sure to check it out. That link is going to be in the pinned comment. You get your first deposit absolutely matched. It's an absolute no-brainer, and you get this free square. Go check out Sleeper, guys. I've been loving that DFS Pick'em app as of late. All right, let's jump into game number 1 here. We have Washington hosting the Cavs. This is probably going to be a messy game. You have Washington coming off of 3 straight losses. Cleveland coming, I think they just secured, the 2nd spot in the East. They're coming off of 6 straight wins in 9 of their last 10. They have taken the dub, and they're finally getting healthy, right? Not even listed on the injury report today is going to be Garland and Mobley, which is really good to see. I'm not sure about minutes restrictions. We'll still want to keep an eye on that, but maybe that's even been lifted. But regardless, I do still think that this is a spot for Cleveland. Now, the spread is a big number, 11.5. So if you're kind of turned off by that, I get it. But Cleveland, their last 2 games, they've won by over this line, right? So they go and beat San Antonio by 18, then they beat Sacramento by 26. Like, this team is just firing on all cylinders right now. And this Washington team, as big as that line is, right? This Washington team has not covered that 2 of their last 3 games. So I do think that there is call for being able to lean towards Cleveland today. Whether or not it becomes a final play, not entirely sure yet. Keep an eye on the pinned comment, like I always tell you guys, because that is such a big number. And like, does Cleveland think, all right, you know what, this is the first game of a road trip, we're not really feeling it, blah blah blah? I don't think so. I think that they do come to play because they have the chip on their shoulder, but that would be my sort of hesitancy when it comes to pulling the trigger on this. In terms of a total, I can't help but look at the under here. So Cleveland, Last 10 games, just a middle of the pack team in terms of pace, but Washington has been playing with crazy pace. Third fastest team over the last 10 games in pace, and Cleveland has been playing really well in transition when they play in transition. In fact, their field goal percentage in transition possessions is at 55%. That's really, really good, right? That's more than half of their shots are going in. And Washington, their field goal percentage on defense has been terrible when it's in transition. So I do expect Cleveland to be able to up the pace here. My one draw for concern is the fact that Cleveland's defense has been playing well. So do they just absolutely dwarf the Washington offense, or lack thereof in a sense? Potentially, but I'll take the over 234.5 in this spot. I do think that looking at what this line comes in at, it's kind of like, okay, like both of these teams have not been nearly sniffing this number, right? Cleveland's only hit the over 3 of their last 10 games to this line. Washington only in 2 of their last 10. But why is it set so high? Because the books don't make mistakes that big, right? So give me the over in this spot. Now, a player prop that I don't mind looking at here, Max Strus over 1.5 threes. He burned us with his assists last game, but I do think that the volume could be there for him. Even with these guys getting back, it's almost reverting Max Strus to being what he was while, Garland and Mobley were healthy, which is a guy that's going to hang way more around the perimeter and be in catch-and-shoot situations. His last 2 games here, 7 3 attempts and 10 3 attempts. Do that again, I don't mind it. Give me him over 1.5 3-pointers made. All right, next up, we have the Charlotte Hornets taking on the Toronto Raptors in what should be an instant classic of a game. But honestly, Charlotte here has lost 8 straight games, 9 of their last 10. Toronto has lost 8 of their last 10. They've lost three straight games. This is their last road game before heading back to Toronto for a decent stand. So that may be a factor here. In terms of injuries, Gary Trent Jr. is probable here. And then kind of an update here, I guess, from the Charlotte side of things. Looks like we have Gordon Hayward is game time decision, a toss up to play. So if they get him back, yeah, I do think that could give them a little bit of a boost on the Charlotte side of things. But nonetheless, I just can't really trust Charlotte until we see them, I guess even start to cover games, right? Like this is a team that has struggled all year long covering games. They've struggled all at home covering games in their last 10 here. They've covered just 3 of their last 7, whereas Toronto's been bad too, but they've covered more. They've covered 4 of their last 10. So yeah, it's kind of a tough spot. Like I don't envision this being a final play, but I'm going to lean towards Toronto here. I just think that, even if they get Gary Trent Jr., that could be a little bit of a, if he plays in this game, it could be a boost, but I'm not really focusing on the personnel here. It's more the team game, and I just can't trust Charlotte. I've seen this at 6.5 over on a few different sports books, so that might be a better spot if you do like Toronto. Like I said, I'm being honest, I don't envision this being a total must-have in our bet slip tonight in our final play, so I doubt it'll get there. In terms of a total, I could see the over hitting. I know that may sound a little bit crazy here, but what's kind of weird is that this Toronto defense has been terrible, like as of late, really, really bad. Last 10 here, allowing plenty of points. If you want to look at it from a last 3 perspective, last 3 games, they're allowing 136 per game to their opponents. And it's not like they're playing these crazy good offenses, right? So I will say that OKC's in there, but they have Houston, OKC, and the Pelicans. Like the Pelicans, slow-ish team. Houston, slow team. And that's 135 to Houston, 138 to the Pelicans. I don't mind Charlotte being able to score a decent amount of points here. Now, last time they played, which was late December, mid-December, Charlotte didn't even reach the 100 mark. But I don't think Toronto's as defensive oriented now as they were. I mean, think about the pieces that they traded away. Siakam, OG Anunoby. Like, this team is a little bit different now, and they're not heading in the right direction. I don't envision much defense being played in this game. Notice I don't even have to speak about how Charlotte's defense has been, but it's crazy that the defense on Charlotte has been better than Toronto, aka I don't think there's going to be much defense played. 226.5. I'll lean towards the over here. I want to say I saw this at 225.5 over on BetMGM, which that 1 point could make a huge difference. So yeah, I'll lean towards the over. And honestly, from a player prop perspective, I dug in this game. I don't mind looking at RJ Barrett's over PRA, or points plus assists, excuse me. I don't mind his PRA either, but I do think his PRA is the line that I'm kind of keying in on. He's hit that in 3 straight games. He's hit it in 7 of his last 10 games. And this is a Charlotte team that obviously does not cover any position very well, but they're allowing plenty of assists, which is huge here. Plenty of assists to the shooting guard and the small forward position. We know RJ Barrett's probably going to go out there and shoot the ball, 50 15 to 20 times, which is crazy. So he should get his points. But if he goes out there and gets his assist numbers, I think that we look at a cash here. So we dug pretty deep for this one, so it didn't jump off the page, but I do like it. This is over 24.5 for plus money, so I should have kind of started with that, right? Like, this is a plus money play. If this was minus 115 or something like that, like, I don't know if I'd like it as much, but for plus 105 over on DraftKings for RJ Barrett's over 24.5 points plus assist, I do think that there's some value there. And technically, he's starting at the small forward position. Charlotte to small forwards this season in total, last in points allowed and last in assists allowed to that position. Just saying, for plus money, could be worth a flyer there. All right, guys, before we continue on with the show, I do want to talk to you about OddsJam. You've heard me talk about OddsJam before, but they have a plethora of tools to be able to utilize and become a more profitable sports bettor. So what this tool is that we're looking at here is the arbitrage sports betting screen. If you don't know what arbitrage betting is, I have a video going through this on the channel. It's actually pinned to the channel page if you want to just go check it out right now. But what it is, you can take both sides of a line, and no matter what the outcome is, profit. Now, it's marginal profit, but profit nonetheless. It's guaranteed. So, for example, this game, if you are on Bet Online as well as Bovada or Bodog, obviously it depends on the sports books you're on. Those are kind of offshore ones, but we can even filter it to, legal Massachusetts sports books. That's where I am, or any of the books that you guys are on. But for the sake of showing you guys, I wanted the most sports books possible here. So, for example, Kawhi Leonard over 26.5 points and under 26.5 points, splitting this on these two sports books. If you put, say, $75 over on one book to take his over, you could put 68 on his under on another sports book and profit $3.32. It's a really, really cool thing. And arbitrage sports betting is definitely growing right now. And I did a video on it. It's super fun because it's really rewarding once you hit one of those big arbs out there. So go check it out, guys. OddsJam. That link is in the pinned comment. You get 7 days free with that link. And if you want to sign up, use code GUYBOSTON, GUYBOSTON. Spelling Bee Champ. Use the code GUYBOSTON to get 25% off. This is also my favorite tool, or one of my favorite tools on this platform, the Positive EV tool. What this does is identifies missed price lines in the market. For example, Tampa Bay money line, Tampa Bay Lightning money line tonight, plus 130 on Fanatics. It is actually a plus 114 average odds in the market, so you're getting some value there. Does it guarantee that it hits? No. But you do have the best price line out there in a spot in which a sportsbook, Fanatics in this case, probably made a mistake setting those odds. So guys, go check out OddsJam. Link in the pinned comment. Get 7 days free. Use code GUYBOSTON for 25% off. Next up, we got the Sixers taking on the Warriors here. Warriors coming off of a nice win as what they were for the majority of the day, underdogs, and they ended up closing as favorites against Brooklyn. We capitalized on that one there. They win 109-98. Philadelphia coming off of a loss to Dallas. Both those were a couple nights back. I do think that this is a spot in which, the Warriors are probably the play. Not that they've been trustworthy whatsoever, but I kind of want to wait this Sixers team out before we start to invest in them monetarily whatsoever, because without Joel Embiid and the news now that he's going to be out 4 weeks, which is actually, like, I saw people being like, 4 weeks, how are they going to, 4 weeks seems like a short amount of time for the injury that he had. So I don't know, maybe I'm not the doctor in the room, right? But, whatever. But I just don't think that this Sixers team really has it right now. And one thing you could say is potentially this Warriors team starting to feel good. They've covered in 6 of their last 10 games, pushed in one of those, so 6-3-1. They've covered in 3 of their last 4, 2 of 3 so far on this road trip. They do have Indiana tomorrow, so it could be something they're looking forward to, or, watch the minutes for some of the older guys on the team. But this Warriors team, it's funny. Yes, Steph is leading the charge, but it's like a lot of these young guys are giving them really valuable minutes, guys that you wouldn't worry about in back-to-back situations, right? So give me the Warriors here minus the 2.5 points. It's got a chance to be a final play, honestly, just because, again, I do think as of right now, I guess I should say until further notice, because I don't think the Sixers stay bad, right? I think that they snap back. They still have a good enough team even without Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid has them here. If this is a bad team in the NBA, without Joel Embiid, the Sixers are still here. You know what I mean? They're still a good team, but I think it's just like a shock to them to not play with Embiid. So anyways, what I'm saying is I don't think that I just think it's until further notice, until we see it, it's okay to fade the Sixers here. So I'm going to do that. Give me the Warriors minus the 2 points. They've actually been good on the road this season. They've covered in 62% of games on the road this season, which, yeah, I don't mind seeing that. Now, in terms of a total, 237.5, this Warriors team would be the one that's carrying the pace here. In the last 10, the Sixers have been playing with the 10th slowest pace in the league. Warriors with the 11th fastest, but I don't see much transition happening here. Same thing when they played Golden State played Brooklyn. There was not much transition game, a lot of half-court basketball, and I can envision that happening again here. So I'll lean slightly towards that under 237. I think it finishes probably in the early 230s if I had to guess here. And from a player prop perspective, it may be one that's getting tired and maybe it's not worth taking anymore, but I don't mind looking at Jonathan Kuminga here. You know he's going to get into the paint. This is a Sixers team that with a, Joel Embiid-less Sixers team, they're not going to be able to cover the paint all that well whatsoever. So I don't mind his over in, points and rebounds, or his points, rebounds, and assists, maybe his points alone. If I had to look at anything, it'd probably be his points, rebounds, and assists. That's minus 145 on Caesars, but you can get it over on DraftKings for minus 120 right now. So a little bit of value there. So yeah, I don't really mind looking at him. It probably is the only spot that I'm like considering in this game overall. If I had to rank these, it's probably Warriors minus, or actually I would say under first, then Warriors spread, then Kuminga, because that Kuminga line, as good as he is and as much as he's been standout, has been kind of getting a little bit inflated, right? We can admit that. All right, Celtics taking on Atlanta. Celtics big point favorites in this one, but I guess and I'm a Celtics fan, I guess as Celtics fans, we have to keep getting used to that. 19.5 point favorites over Memphis, 15 point favorites over the Lakers, 12 point favorites over Houston a while back, 15 over San Antonio. Like, they're getting big spreads because they're a good team. That being said, Atlanta, like, you can't really tip your nose at what they've been doing. They almost covered against the Clippers the other night, losing just 149 to 144. And prior to that, they had won 4 games in a row against Golden State, Phoenix, Lakers, like not the best of competition, but sort of like tier B teams right now. So this Atlanta team's playing good basketball. I do think that, they have, somewhat of a look forward spot in terms of like brighter pastures ahead, I guess. Trae Young, I believe, named as a replacement for the All-Star team, so he's probably feeling pretty good. So this spread is a little bit too high for me. I'm still going to lean towards the Celtics because they are at home, and this is an Atlanta team that has covered just 30% of games on the road this season. But that's kind of misleading because this Atlanta team has been so god-awful against the spread this year that any way you dice it up, back-to-back, no-rest situation, like they're going to look bad, right? At home, like, they're going to look bad. So, yes, they have been better, and I'm giving them credit for that, but Celtics at home is a different breed, is a different animal. If you're on the Atlanta side of things, I don't hate you for it. I don't blame you for it either, but give me the Celtics here minus the points. Now, the total sitting at 244. This Celtics defense has been really good in transition, one of the best over the last actually, I want to say it's either over the last 10 games and on the season. So no matter how you want to dice it up, more recently or bigger sample size. The one concern in terms of pace of play here is that Atlanta has terrible transition defense. So if Atlanta does somehow establish the pace, I think this game goes way over, but I don't see it happening. I think the Celtics are going to establish the pace at home here. When they're at home, they're only 50% to the over and under, so it's kind of a toss-up anyways, and Atlanta has only cashed 40% of their overs on the road. So if Boston can play that transition defense, meaning they limit that pace of play, I like the under in this spot. It is a high total as well at 244, so we could be looking at a good spot. Definitely a strong chance of being a final play. Now, a couple player props I don't mind in this spot. Derek White over 1.5 steals plus blocks. Shout out to the people that saw my typo in the pinned comment, stakes plus blocks. If you guys are watching right now, make sure to comment stakes in the comments if you guys saw that the other day. But yeah, let me know that you made it this far in the video by commenting stakes. I'll lean towards his steals plus blocks again. Still getting decent odds, minus 130 on DraftKings. Atlanta to the shooting guard position this season, allowing the 7th most steals, kind of middle of the pack when it comes to blocks. But Derek White is a guy that's blocked. Like, he's one of the best shot blocking guards in the entire league. So it's like, yeah, like we can almost, knock on wood, account for him to get a block per game, which is amazing because if he just goes out there and gets a steal, usually it's the opposite, the other way around, right? When you look at guys like that, it's like, well, yeah, we want him to get 2 steals. Maybe he gets the block. It's like, no, Derek White can handle the block category. So I like this spot. I don't know if this becomes a final play because, again, I do think that this is a game that's a little bit slower, and a lot of Derek White's blocks come when he's chasing a guy down, or it's a one-on-one in transition, and it's a bigger guy that thinks, oh, I'm going to dunk on this guy, and Derek White's like, no, I'll just meet you at the rim. I don't know if there's going to be that many opportunities. Like, he's not a half-court blocker, so we could pass on this one, but it's definitely a lean right off the bat here. Now, when it comes to three-pointers made, I know you guys hate it when I do look at it. When I do look at this, I do think that there's a chance that we look at Jaylen Brown and Derek White for the three-pointer made. But we're waiting on the injury report here. I probably should have given you guys this a little bit earlier, but Jaylen Brown and Drew Holiday both questionable in this spot. Brown's probable, Drew Holiday is questionable. So we'll see how those play out when it comes to the player props. If either of those guys are out, it still doesn't really change my spread or total prediction there, though. All right, Miami is taking on the Spurs here. This is a game in which I'll just tell you guys right away, I don't really love, due to the fact that Miami is on a back-to-back here. On back-to-backs this season, they've only covered in 20% of their games. I would like them normally against this Spurs team, who I do think that they match up fairly well against, but because of that back-to-back issue, I'm going to lean Spurs here plus the 8 points. Injuries on either side, nothing really jumping out. Now, it is a back-to-back for Miami, so keep an eye on the injury report throughout the day. But yeah, I don't love this spot because, again, I wanted to kind of look at it from a Miami perspective, and I can't get myself there because of that back-to-back. So give me San Antonio in this spot. They've covered in 55% of their games in which they had a rest advantage over their opponent, so that's a little interesting. So kind of where I'll leave it. I do think that this is it could be a game that stays within 8 points is all I'm saying. The total's at 224. I'd be lying to you guys if I said I like the under. I don't think Miami's going to have too much of a defensive prerogative, especially when they're playing San Antonio. Like, there's a lot of these factors that go into I think NBA teams playing against other teams. They're like, all right, we got to lock this team down because they're going to do this, this, and this. What are they going to go in being like, oh, we really have to shut down this high-powered Spurs offense? No. So I think that they could come in a little lax here. We could see an over cash in this spot. Player props, nothing really jumping off the page to me, and I don't want to force anything. Clippers taking on the Pels. Clippers 7-point favorites at home. Total sitting at 230 right now. Starting with the total, I don't mind taking a peek at the under here. I think that both these teams could decide to slow this game down a little bit, but it's probably my least favorite spot in this game, but I did want to start there. In terms of a spread pick, give me the Pelicans. Zion's on the injury report. We want to see if he is getting the go, obviously, but give me the Pelicans. It's too many points, I feel like. Now, last time they played, which was, a week ago, right? Or not a week ago. Last time they played was a month ago, and the Clippers won this game pretty substantially, 111-95. Now, the Pelicans won the first meeting of the year, and they played, a couple days ago and looked really sharp against Toronto. Like, one of the better Pelican games that they've played. Now, it's against Toronto, I get it. Whereas the Clippers have kind of let some teams hang around, beating Detroit by just 11. I know, just 11, but it's the Pistons. Atlanta by just 5. Like, it's not like the Clippers are necessarily blowing teams out. They beat, who'd they play between them? Either Orlando or Miami. They beat them by like 7 points. So they're just not like blowing the door off teams in the last 3 games or so. So give me the Pelicans. It's a decent amount of points. And if I think this game's going to be somewhat slow, I'll lean towards that under, as well as that 7-point cushion. But I could totally see the Clippers blowing away the Pelicans if they wanted to. Like, this Clippers team is legit. I've been saying how legit they are. Don't take me leaning the Pelicans today as I don't think the Clippers are I think the Clippers are aggressing. I don't. I just think it's not the best spot for the Clippers. In terms of player props here, I don't have the lines out now, but this is a Clippers team that ain't that great against the mid-range shot, and you guys know who I love to target in games in which, the player, the team that he's playing against does not cover the mid-range. It's Brandon Ingram, who should literally change his middle name to mid-range because he loves it. So I'll consider that. You might see some sort of a ladder like we did last time. If you guys don't remember, last time we had a matchup like this. We had Ingram, I think it was against the Rockets maybe, but Ingram over 19.5 points, over 20.5 points, over 21.5 19.5 points, then over 22.5 points, and 2 units across those. So I think it was like 0.5 on 19.5, a full unit on 22, whatever it was, right? We kind of laddered up his ability there. On the other side of things, I also don't mind looking at Kawhi or Paul George. Paul George, I don't know why this dude just keeps coming back to us, and we almost keep betting him when he keeps burning us, but both those guys mid-range shooters as well, and this is a Pelicans team that struggles at covering the mid-range. So yeah, it could be something that I consider. My problem with Paul George is that his line's bumped up to, I think it was like 20.5 or 21.5 when I saw it earlier, so that kind of like turns us off from it, right? But both those guys should have good spots to be able to pick and choose where and how they score. So yeah, those three, I definitely like Ingram the most in this entire game as a player prop, but gonna want to see where that line comes out, and you know, if Zion's playing too. He's on the injury report, so we'll keep you posted in the pinned comment. All right, last game of today's slate, and we're ending it on kind of a dud. Not my favorite spot here, but I'll lean towards Sacramento. Yes, this Pistons team, you know, I'll give them credit in the games that they've been covering as of late. In their last 10, they're 8-2 against the spread, but they didn't look all that great against Orlando, right? Orlando beat them by beat them 111-99, and you have a Sacramento team that kind of should be looking for a bounce back spot after that Cleveland loss. So, and they're finally home. They do have Denver. Let me see. I don't know. I don't think it's tomorrow. Maybe on the 9th or the 10th. So, Denver on the 9th. So maybe Sacramento's like, let's just get through the Pistons and focus on Denver, and maybe they don't really come in guns a-blazing against Detroit, but nonetheless, I don't think that, you know, I don't think the books are making a mistake by giving a good against the spread team 13 points here, if that makes sense. So give me Sacramento. Total sitting at 242. Like, how much defense can we expect to be played here? Points allowed in their last 3 games, 124 for Sacramento, 125 for Detroit. Detroit on the road this year, 125 allowed. Sacramento at home, 121. Like, we should be expecting 245 by any metric you look at. And if you want to go with, oh, well, the Pistons are covering, then that helps the over, right? Like, I don't think that they do, but helps the over. Player prop wise, literally squat in this game. In terms of injuries here, I guess we haven't touched on that yet. Bogdanovic is questionable, and from a player prop perspective, I actually don't mind looking at his 3 points makes. You guys hate when I take 3-pointers, but I don't mind his spot here. And Cade Cunningham also questionable in this spot as well. So worth noting for both of those injuries. I believe Isaiah Stewart's still ruled out. So I don't know if anything becomes a final play from this game. And I know that a lot of people and a lot of guppies hate when I'm like, I don't know, I'm not that confident. And people are like, oh, you always say I don't know about games you don't like. No kidding. Why would I come on here to what has been a plethora of people every single day in fake confidence for a video, right? Like, if you guys that have been watching for a while know when I like a spot and know when I really like a spot, but you also, I'm very honest and transparent about, this is what I'm leaning, but it probably stays as a lean. That's like how the best way to do it, in my opinion. But nonetheless, guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's show. I know the Guppies will be out and about today after a bad night last night, and rightfully so. I'll own our losses, you know what I mean? Like, bad night, we didn't love the board. I said it in yesterday's video, and somehow we still came up with 7 plays. Like, that's where the degenerate dummy in me comes into play. But nonetheless, guys, we'll catch you in the next one, all right? Peace out.